Hey, welcome. My name is Damien. We're going to talk pedal brains today. We're going to go deep into the left brain. It's that Arduino-powered expression controller for effects pedals. Launching this Friday, 9/17 at noon Pacific time. You're going to want to check this out. So we're going to walk through functionality and features of the left brain. I'm going to try it out with a bunch of different effects. Got some pre-recorded music. If we get crazy, I will whip out the guitar and we'll get real time with it. But this is it. This is the left brain. It is a expression pedal, unlike many, but similar to some. If you've taken a look at some folks out there doing interesting things with expression, got my friend at El Garage doing the echo knob, folks over at Old Blood Noise endeavors, and the expression ramper. Some of the dip switch functionality on the Chase Bliss series of pedals. There's just a lot you can do with modulating the parameters and properties of effects pedals that have that kind of control. So what does the left brain do that makes it unique? Well, let's talk through the hardware and then the software functionality of it. And the first thing I want to mention is that with every left brain, we're going to be handing out 4 different instruction cards that'll help you along your path of experimentation with the left brain. Because first and foremost, what the left brain is a tool to radically modify the effects pedals that you have with expression control. It will make them do backflips, and strange noises may occur. And that's all part of the fun. We'll talk more about the hardware controls, the suggested instructions, what we call mode control for the different modes available for the left brain. And we're going to walk through each of the 10 modes that the left brain ships with. So stay tuned. It should be pretty interesting. And kicking it off, I want to talk about the hardware controls. You can see, first of all, that we have 3 knobs on the top of the left brain that allow you to access controls for the flashing light patterns. Fundamentally, the left brain is a flashing light translator. It takes that flashing light and converts it into expression control. So, you've got 3 knobs that do different things. The next thing that we'll point to on our tour is the expression control jack. This is a tip ring sleeve jack, which is what most effects pedals expect. There's a few out there that do a tip ring thing. No guarantees on the pedal brain side of things here. But we have been working with a bunch of beta testers to make sure that the Pedal Brainz series of expression pedals work across a bunch of different stuff. Left brain has got an Arduino inside. It's going to take some power, so we've got your traditional 9-volt ring positive connector that you would see on most effects pedals. And that's when we start to get into the hardware side of things. So on this face, we've got a knob to change the scale of the expression. And for folks out there who are familiar with treadle-based foot pedals for expression, that's it. It's right there. It's your knob. It's going to go up and down just like you would on a foot-controlled expression pedal. We're talking toe to heel, same concept. This switch here on the side changes between tip ring and ring tip for the flow of the expression control to an effect pedal. And again, just maximizing the compatibility with different effects and what they expect. With no standardization out there for effects control, we're trying to give you as many options as you can get. Rotating to the front panel of the pedal Brainz, we've got the range switch. And this range switch gives you 3 levels of limit for the full extent of the scale knob on the side. So again, maximizing that compatibility against different effects pedals that expect different things. The other thing you might have noticed here is we've got this giant clear bezel. This is going to be your light source, primary light source, but it also unscrews to give you access to the USB connection to the Arduino device on board. And so this is a fully programmable Arduino with an onboard RGB LED that flashes. We got, like I said, 10 modes out of the box of different flashing light patterns that you can control with the knobs. And guess what? If you heard the word Arduino and even know what that means, it is yours to play with. So if you find that you've got a great idea to interface with an effect that you have, but it just doesn't come out of the box, it's a fully programmable device. Tear it open under the hood and make it do your bidding with Arduino. So meant to be extensible, and in fact, we're going to have another dozen modes at launch on our GitHub repo at github/pedalbrainz, and those are crazy. Like, this is the stuff I've been cooking up in the laboratory. These ones go a little further out than the baseline. Let's talk about the baseline. The last switch that we have here on the side of the left brain is going to be the expression or I switch. Now, in expression mode, this acts just like a manual expression controller, similar to our no-brainer as part of the Pedal Brainz series. But when you engage the I, that brings in a light-dependent resistor. And remember how I said there was a flashing light? Well, check it. This light-dependent resistor will measure the light and translate into the turning of this knob. And so it's not that complicated. I'm not a scientist, but what happens is you get a whole lot of expression out of this box and a whole lot of fun to use with your effects. So before I dig too much deeper in, this is what it looks like inside. So if you're wondering to yourself, knobs, yeah, cool. We got one on the side here. We got these switches. And again, probably hard to see here, but up under the hood, we've got our little Arduino device and flashing LED. So again, take it in and out of the enclosure. A great platform to explore coding in Arduino. There's a block-based language you can get to interface with it. Adafruit is the manufacturer, and they have a ton of resources for you to get started with that. But out of the box, there's plenty to play with, and so let's dig in deeper on that. So I've got an array of Pedal Brainz in front of me, everything from the left brain here to the left brain in an exclusive launch colorway, the fully activated launch colorway of the left brain. I've also got a third eye here, which exposes the light-dependent resistor. And maybe there's even a no-brainer in here somewhere that's just, again, a control with manual and switches for compatibility. We'll talk through some of those. We're going into the dark mode. So, I thought this would make it easier to demonstrate some of the functionality here. And so let's take a look at the left brain. Alrighty, so from startup, what we have is a mode that I call the squares mode. Squares mode has two different colors whose brightness are controlled by the top knobs. So right now I've got the orange color fully lit, and you can see it pulsing here in time. I can speed that up or slow it down. I've also got full control over a second color. That's the blue color here. And so again, I've got control over the light value of those two colors and the speed of them. So this is called squares mode. And let's hear a little bit about what that sounds like on a filter here. This is a voice filter. It's currently tied to this mode. And as you speed it up, of course, you can hear, just like if your foot was moving on the treadle of a foot expression pedal, rocking back and forth. Having the second color that you can bring in means that you can set the minimum value for it. So in addition to the maximum value, if you can think of it that way, you also have the minimum value. So that's squares mode. Folks, drop a line in the comments if you have any questions. I'm not sure how that works here on this service, but let me know if you have any questions. That's squares. That's the first mode for the left brain in the Pedal Brainz series, releasing this Friday at noon. Okay, let's move on. So the next mode that I want to talk about, the second of 10 modes, and let's see if we can do that. On the mode control card that comes with this, you'll see that in order to advance the modes, you set all the knobs fully counterclockwise. That starts a green flashing pattern. It says, hey, I'm ready to move on to the next mode. Now, if you move the top right mode, it won't advance. If you move the top left, it won't advance. If you move the bottom right, you'll see a pink flashing pattern, and now it's advanced to mode 2. Again, one knob to move it forward, but you can get out of that at any time. That was great feedback that we got from one of the beta testers, and it just goes to show asking people to try this stuff out is super helpful. So in mode 2, this is what I call triangles mode, and it looks just like a regular flashing pattern. In the top left knob, you can control the speed of it, which just changes the fade speed. Okay, so we got a nice pulsing there. Meanwhile, the top right controls the amount of time that it stays lit when it is at its brightest. So I can turn that up. It'll stay lit a little bit longer before it fades out. Similarly, the bottom right knob, when turned up, controls the duration that it stays dark. Okay, so again, kind of a nice way to get a little more control over your traditional triangle wave or sine wave style expression, if that capability exists on an expression pedal you have. So it extends that a little bit. Let's hear a little bit about how that sounds over here with our filter. And here we have charming vocal filter. We can slow that down. And if we want it to stay open, the filter to stay open a little bit longer each time, we can control that with one knob. And if we want it to stay closed a little longer, we can control that with another knob. Sidetrack for a second. Remember how I said that the third eye model pedal Brainz had a light dependent resistor on it? This is the same concept as inside the left brain, but instead of a flashing light to drive it and automate that, we've brought that to the outside, and you can now influence the expression with light. So I'm going to engage another filter here. And because it's dark in here, it's already a closed filter. But with light, I can open and close that filter. And that's exactly what's happening inside of the left brain. With a little bit more control, a little less manual activity. And so far we've just seen the opening and closing of a filter, but I'm using this Blurst pedal from Electro Harmonics. It has 3 different modes that can be used with the expression control. So I'm going to flip that to the rate. And now when it's dark, it's modulating really slow, kind of like triangles mode on the left brain. But what I can do is that now I can control the speed of or rate of that modulation using light. And so this is an external representation of exactly what's happening inside of the left brain. So let's keep going. The next mode on the left brain, and again, let's rotate all our knobs counterclockwise until we get our flashing green. We rotate this bottom right control just a little bit. We get that pink flashing. And now we're in mode 3, and I call this one Triangles Random. Because what it does is it randomizes the flashing of the triangle wave. And by decreasing the speed controlled by the top right control, you introduce even more random variation between the blinking. Same thing with the 2 knobs here. We have one of the knobs which will add a random amount of variation to when it's fully lit, and we have the bottom right knob which adds a random amount of variation or time duration when it's fully dark. Okay, so now we're starting to get somewhere kind of interesting. We're moving out of the repeating patterns of sine waves, triangle waves, and square waves, and now we're bringing in some kind of random control to it, and it starts to get pretty fun at this point, because what I'm always aiming for with this kind of creative expression is something to surprise and delight me when I'm playing. I'm an improvisational guitar player, and I really want to do something fun, and I want it to like I want it to speak back to me. It's almost like having someone to play along with when you start to bring in these deeper levels of randomization. So for me, that was my goal with the pedal Brainz, was to really extend the functionality of effects that I already had while bringing something delightful and surprising to the experience of improvising and playing. So this one's pretty cool. Right, here's a little bit of the Now, if any time I decide I don't want the treadle to go all the way to the top in this expression, I can limit the full duration of it using the scale knob. So maybe I only want it to modulate a little bit. I can set that limit using the scale knob. So you have a few different places where you can control what the range of the expression is that's output by the left brain. Again, scale knob is one place. We also have the range, which sets the maximum limit for the scale. And then in some modes, the brightness of the light, which can work in conjunction. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next mode. This is gonna be mode 4. Again, all my knobs back to counterclockwise. I get that green, it's telling me I'm ready. If I decide, actually, I want to stick around in mode 3 a little bit, I can rotate either of the top knobs. But no, I'm serious. Let's do this. Mode 4, okay? So rotating just the bottom right knob. And now we've got rainbow mode, okay? So, rainbow mode is a sequence of colors, as you may be aware. Roy G. Biv? Is that how everyone learned it? It cycles through these, and the speed is controlled by the top right knob. So you can see the rainbow colors getting slower in their cycle. And now the top left knob is for the maximum brightness of that. Okay? And the bottom right knob sets a duration of darkness in between each cycle. And so with our magic wah pedal here, you can slow that down. And we can also just scale what that top is. Okay, that's rainbows mode. Bringing back a little bit of sequential kind of modulation. Again, it's not quite a triangle or square wave. It's just a groovy pattern of different light values with a little bit of control over the maximum brightness and a little bit of darkness duration in between. I'll have some other examples with these modes moving on. Mode 5, let's rock. Okay, counterclockwise, move that bottom right. Pink blinking lights, I love pink blinking lights. And now we're into what I call the rainbow's random mode. And what this does is, again, you have speed control here. And that controls the rate of the rainbow cycling. But you also have, instead of a maximum brightness control here on the top left, what you have is an amount of random brightness that gets more extreme the further up you turn the knob. So it's hard to track in this situation, but what you'll get is randomized light amplitudes as it cycles through. Again, with the same ability to put a darkness duration in between the cycle. But again, bringing that randomness to mode 4, mode 5, Rainbow's random. Not Rainbow Randolph, but similar? Yeah. And that's mode 5. I'm going to move on to the next one quickly because it just gets more exciting from here. Again, all the knobs rotated counterclockwise. Move that right knob advanced from 0, and we have advanced to mode 6. This is Mountains Repeat mode. And this one is pretty wild. So by default, it's going to start to look just like a pulsing triangle wave, because essentially it is. You have control over the speed of it here, so you can make it go faster and slower. That's easy. And this is where it gets wild. So the top left knob controls the amount of random variation along that cycle. So if we crank it way up, it starts to get kind of stuttery. But it gets stuttery in a repeatable way. So essentially think of it as adding additional peaks to a mountaintop as it cycles. And it becomes really clear as we slow down a little bit, and you see a slight flickering as that cycle is climbing up its mountain of brightness and back down. This mode implemented by a smart fellow named Jan Sesnick. Shout out to Jan. He did a great job with it. And again, taking that traditional sine wave and adding peaks to it, and in Mountains Repeat mode, those peaks are repeated at each cycle. You can dial in how extreme those peaks are, slow it down. And the last control here in the bottom left is what we call snack time. Okay, so you're climbing the mountain, you're dialing in the amount of peaks that you want to climb on and how fast you want to climb them. But sometimes you need to sit down and take a snack. So turning up the bottom left knob will give you a chance to take a pause during your ascent and descent of this mountains mode. And you'll hang out there on the plateau. So whatever brightness you're at when snack time engages, you're just going to hang out there for a random duration. And that random duration gets larger and larger the more you turn up the snack knob in this mode. This is mode 7, Mountains Repeat. And we're talking about bringing in just the right amount of randomness and variation to fit whatever you're trying to express, or how it's working with your effect pedal. So let's hear a little bit about how that sounds. I'm going to turn snack time down, and I'm going to turn the randomness all the way up. I'm going to turn the speed down a little. here. And in mountains, repeat, that cycle is always going to be the same depending on the amount of random variation that you're adding using that random knob. And again, engaging snack mode will give you the random chance to stop on that mountain as you're making your ascent or descent and hang out for a while. Great for predictable and interesting randomization. Moving on to mode, did I say 7? 8? Let's go. All right, next mode, random. This is mountains random, okay? So remember how I said turning up the amount of random variation would stay the same each cycle. So those peaks would always be the same peaks. It'd be like going back to the same mountain and climbing it every day, right? If a mountain was a light, right? Mountains random repeat actually gives you a new mountain every time the light cycles through bright and dark. And so each time that mountain range is getting rebuilt, and it's using the amount of randomness that you dial in using the top right knob. Top left knob. It's in the manual. So you can see it just looks like a simple pulsing light here when there's no randomization. Nothing too fancy here. If I do bring in the snack time though, it's going to hang out for a minute at a random point during that cycle. So that's kind of cool. But then where it gets really interesting is dialing in that amount of randomness. And you can see it starts to get a little bit flickery and faderly. That's because this random knob is generating more peaks, and those peaks are always changing each cycle. And so you're going to get a ton of random variation from modes 7 random mountains random repeat. Yeah. That's mountains mode. Big ups to Jan for orchestrating that. Did a great job. All the knobs, counterclockwise. We're going to do this. Moving on to mode 8. This is the first of the strange attractors modes. And this is a series of modes based on some freaky math. You can dig into it. But essentially what it does is it brings some kind of randomization that is consistent while also deviating from that consistency over time. And so another level of randomization, you never quite know what you're going to get, but what you do have is you do have control over how much of that randomization there is. So on the bottom right knob, you can turn up the amount of variation you get, and you get a really soft kind of fading and flickering in this mode. This is Strange Attractors single mode. Now the top left knob is your total brightness of the light, and you can hear it engage the filter there. I'm actually going to kick on the Drolo Stamen here because I've got another pedal brain rocking in this mode, and you can hear a little bit more on with the pitch shifting of the Stamen just how this is manifested. That's just a really slow, you can hear it kind of warbling, the pitchy side of things. Of course, that can get pretty wacky. Am I right? Okay, so that's Strange Attractors Mode 8, Strange Attractors Single. What could Mode 9 be? Let's dial them all back. Advance the mode to Mode 9. This is what I call Strange Attractors Double. So remember how I said there was that crazy math that was feeding the amplitude of the brightness of the LED? Well, now I've got blue and red. So the previous mode was just blue, the light stayed bluish. There was one color influenced by that math. But I've actually got 3, spoilers, total Strange Attractors running during these modes. In Strange Attractors Single, I'm just using one of those randomized outputs. In Strange Attractors Double, so we're in Mode 9, I'm using 2 of those random numbers, and again, they're kind of attracted to each other, and so they're oscillating around the same place, and so it's giving just a little bit more variation, a little more randomization, and can get a little bit crazier. I'll jump right into mode 10, which is Strange Attractors Triple, because you can really start to see how with 3 different random influencers across the 3 different red, green, and blue of the LED on the Arduino, it really starts to bring some interesting patterns to it, even at fast speeds. So again, the Stamen is kind of my fave for illustrating it because it's bonkers. And we love bonkers, don't we? So here's a little bit of Strange Attractors Triple using the Stamen. You want to dial back some of that randomness and smooth out some of the peaks and valleys. You can take it down. And again, with the scale knob, you can also set your maximum for the expression range. And that's Strange Attractors Triple. That's mode 10. So while we're at it, this is the no-brainer. Again, simple expression knob. This is what's happening inside that left brain. It's just magic turning that knob automatically based on how bright that light is. You can see here I've got it rigged up to the El Capistan. That tap light is flashing in time with the time being set by the expression from the no-brainer. That was all 10 modes of the pedal Pedal Brainz left brain, an Arduino controlled expression pedal, light controlled with an Arduino inside, fully programmable. We saw the 10 modes. We talked about the hardware side of things, compatibility, and again, a dozen or so beta testers who've been plugging this into all kinds of different effects and validating the compatibility across a wide range of effect pedals. Friday, the 17th of September at noon, 12 o'clock Pacific time, we're going to have the first batch ever available to order of Left Brainz, Third Eyes, and No Brainers. Comes in the launch exclusive, fully activated Left Brain colorway. I got 12 of these Left Brainz. I'd like to make more, but I don't know. Does anyone want these? I'm hoping so. I've got 6 of the Third Eye. Again, whether you're using them on the floor and stomping on it with your foot to close that third eye, or on the tabletop waving your hand or shooting a flashlight at it. It's a great way to manually control the expression of your effects. And lastly, the no-brainer. Just simple manual expression knob with some hardware compatibility. Awesome artwork. Fantastic enclosure job from the folks at Obscura. Scott over there really knocked it out of the park with just the comfortability and functionality of these enclosures. Just incredible stuff. Obscura. So I hope this has been fun. Holler at me with any questions you have. There's more info at pedalbrainz.com. Like I mentioned, we have a GitHub as well you can access through there. I'm on Instagram here at Lost Chocolate Lab, and I'd love to hear from you if you have any questions. Ideas for other modes. I can't wait to wade a bit deeper into it. As I mentioned, the Left Brain ships with 10 modes. There's another dozen modes on the GitHub repository that you can, using the instructions provided, get loaded onto your Left Brain to replace the 10 that it ships with. Those are extended Strange Attractors modes. I got a thing called Strange Attractors Speedy that's a little bit more unstable and a little bit wilder. Hey, weird noise. Glad you made it. And about 6 or 8 more rainbow modes, actually. Aaron Meager, we're calling them Meager modes, I think, from Discrete Circuitry, suggested some additional variations of the rainbow mode that I've added to a custom set of rainbow modes you can download from the GitHub and install on your Left Brain. In addition to some just wild experiments with modulating light. Because ultimately we are just talking about flashing lights, right? And that can be pretty fun. So I hope you want to get your hands on a Left Brain, the Third Eye, and the No Brainer. Had a lot of fun showing things off. I didn't even get to use all of the effects that I set out, but that's half the fun when you have a few, is that you don't have to use all of them all the time, right? So again, thanks for tuning in. Good to see folks, and Pedal Brainz. Dig it.